Take seats. PFC Millie, call sign Ripper. Do you know why this tribunal has been called to session? Let the record show that PFC Millie has nodded his head yes. He has already communicated to this tribunal through his defender, Corporal Bernstein, call sign Malfoy, that he is refusing to speak until called to defend himself against the charges against him. PFC Millie, a tribunal was required because of the charges you are accused of committing. This tribunal, under our unit's regulations, is to be made up of 3 of the unit's most senior leadership. If it is one or more of the unit's senior leaders that stands accused, a tribunal would be created from the unit's platoon's leaderships or higher level command if we were to form a battalion or some type of tactical group with other units. In your case, this tribunal is seated with First Sergeant Hauser, call sign Duke. The unit executive officer, Lieutenant Sparks, call sign Flint, and myself, the current commanding officer, Captain Reynolds, call sign Firefly. The prosecutor in this case is Sergeant First Class Tracy, call sign Magnum, because of his background in law enforcement before the war. You have chosen as your defender, Corporal Bernstein, call sign Malfoy, because of his experience in a law firm before the war. Specialist Ruby, call sign Lady J, is the recorder. How this tribunal will work, since it is the first one we have had to seat in this conflict. The prosecution will call witnesses and present evidence to attempt to prove your guilt pertaining to these charges. Your defender will be able to question the prosecutor's witnesses and call doubt on any evidence. At the end of the prosecutor's case against you, your defender will be allowed to call witnesses and present evidence to attempt to prove your innocence. The prosecutor will be allowed to question the witnesses and call into doubt any evidence your defender puts forward. When your defender has finished his case, the tribunal may have additional questions for either side. When we are done with these questions, the tribunal will sequester to deliberate the facts in the case. We will then vote based on those facts. A vote of a minimum of 2 out of 3 is required to convict or declare innocence. When we have made our decision, we will reconvene. The verdict will be announced, as will any punishment that is decided. Sentences, as per unit regulations, must be carried out within 48 hours of the verdict. You are given 48 hours to allow for your defender time to find any additional evidence which could overturn our decision. Do you, PFC Millie, understand what I just laid out for how this tribunal will be conducted? Let the record show PFC Millie has nodded yes. For all those gathered here, this case will be decided using the facts related to each charge. The tribunal will use as our guides this unit's regulations, which were agreed upon at the start of this conflict, the accepted international laws of warfare contained in FM 6-27, the Commander's Handbook on the Law of Land Warfare, published in 2020, and the Holy Bible. If you are found guilty, the sentence will be carried out by the first sergeant and anyone else he determines is required. PFC Millie, you stand accused of the following charges. that on 14 July of this year, you went AWOL, absent without leave from 2nd Platoon during your guard shift at their patrol base, sometime between 0100 and 0230 hours. The maximum penalty is 30 days of hard labor, which involves a minimum of 16 hours of hard manual labor per 24-hour period. The hours of labor does not include breaks, meals, training, or sleep times. After going absent without leave, you made your way to the Juan Gutierrez family farm, located 15 miles south of Somerville. While there, you stole food and valuables. The minimum sentence is 30 days hard labor. Maximum sentence, if the theft could reasonably result in the death of a civilian, is death. While in commission of the crime of theft, you stand charged with murdering Juan Gutierrez, someone who regularly donated food to this unit. The only sentence for the crime of murder or attempted murder of a civilian is death. You also raped his wife Maria and their 14-year-old daughter Isabella. The minimum sentence for rape is 6 months hard labor. The maximum sentence, when committed by the use of force or involving the rape of anyone who is underage, is death. You also stand charged with the murder of Maria Gutierrez to allow you time to rape Isabella without interruption. The only sentence for the crime of murder of a civilian is death. When your platoon located you at the Gutierrez family farm, and after finding the body of Juan Gutierrez, and they located you, you fled, and for the next 3 hours tried making your way to the United Nations combat outpost in Somerville to defect and turn over information about this unit to the enemy to avoid prosecution for what had happened at the Gutierrez family farm. The only sentence for the crime of knowingly giving information or attempting to give information to the enemy without prior approval of the unit's senior leadership is death. While attempting to defect, you discharged your weapon at the members of 2nd Platoon who were pursuing you. You did this with the intent to kill. The only sentence for the crime of attempted or the completed act of murdering a member of the New Continental Army is death. Because of the charges against you, PFC Millie, the maximum sentence you could expect is death by firing squad or hanging. Under this unit's regulations, anyone who receives a sentence of death can, after being found guilty, volunteer to perform a suicide mission for this unit. And should the convicted survive, the tribunal would be required to reconsider dropping the conviction and reinstate the convicted to service within this unit. But if the conviction is dropped and the formerly convicted recommits any crime and is convicted again, then immediate sentence of death is carried out after the finding of guilt. But the option of volunteering for a suicide mission must be agreed on by all 3 members of the tribunal. A vote of anything other than that will result in denial of that option, and sentence of death will be fulfilled by firing squad or hanging by the neck till dead. Your body will then be left to rot on the spot of your execution. Do you, PFC Millie, understand the charges against you, the sentence recommendations according to this unit's regulations, and how the sentence would be fulfilled.